Folks, 7 p.m. here on the East Coast, which means it's time for another edition of the Independent Comedy Club producers interview comedians who've performed at the Independent Comedy Club. Still don't know if we got the name down completely yet, but we are here with yet another episode with Chicago, the Windy City's very own Kristin Lytie. And she's in the chat right now, so I'm going to bring her in right now. Chicago's very own Kristin Lytie. Let's see if this comes through. Kristin, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Very faintly. Very faintly.
Okay, I am on my phone. I want to hold it fairly close to my face. Is that better?
Slightly. I think we can. We can work with this. How are you doing?
The polite Midwestern in me always wants to say, "I'm good, and you?" It's been fun, I think for everybody.
It has been, quite a time, and as also being from the Midwest.
Yeah.
How are you doing? I guess specifically with regards to the quarantine and your comedic output.
Yeah, so actually, I was in Chicago, but then after the Trump election, I decided to move back home to Green Bay and work for the teachers union up here. So that was, I started in Chicago quite a while ago. So with the quarantine and comedy, I've really kind of put comedy on the back burner. I've focused a lot on my work with the union and doing this locally. Yeah, I feel like right now is just a rest period for folks. Like I feel like we don't have to put out content 24/7. So it's I've been actually over the past year I've really been reflecting a lot on content. So I'm actually trying and decided I think I do this for a long time and taking a month off here and there is okay. And honestly, I feel like we're in a place where I want to be on the other side of things before I know what's fun, if that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. Real quick, before you go any further, do you have headphones of any kind or anything to plug in?
Yeah, I can try.
I think it would benefit everybody. You're really quiet in the background, and I don't want to gloss over anything that rules that the fans like Rafiq in the chat or Emma Hart's books. We want to hear your voice.
Oh, hi Emma. Okay, how is this?
Better for hearing?
Oh, that's so much better.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
Awesome.
Good.
So you said you after the Trump election you moved away from Chicago back up to Green Bay to primarily work with you said the teachers union?
Yeah. So after just seeing like what was happening around the country, particularly in rural areas with white people, I was like, oh, I think Chicago's good. And Chicago's also like, you can choose which socialist group you want to be a part of. Like they're so far left.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, just seeing what was happening in rural areas up here, I was like, I gotta go.
So you're in Green Bay and you've decided, I guess, to put the work of what would you call that? Are you a union organizer?
Yes.
Okay, and then that's obviously you're saying that takes the precedent over comedy. Now what? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, also though, I feel like it's a two-pronged thing because you do the work of economic justice through union organizing, but then like bringing new comedians through Green Bay is a really exciting opportunity to like widen people's perspectives here.
How would you compare Green Bay to other cities? Like, how would you compare that to Chicago, for example?
I
personally don't have much of an experience with Green Bay, but I know that there's a lot of like big cities in the area.
Yeah, so Green Bay is the third largest city in Wisconsin. We're roughly between 80 to 100,000 if you count the surrounding suburbs. Predominantly a very conservative area. most of Wisconsin, actually, besides Madison, Milwaukee, is very like, could be considered very right-wing Tea Party type folks.
Hmm.
But the past couple of years has seen a really phenomenal shift. Like, we elected a Democratic governor, Green Bay elected a progressive mayor, and like the governor's election was like by 1.2%. So like
Really?
we're not there yet, but like we're working on it, you know?
I feel like we're in a similar situation where we do have a Democratic governor, but we're still considered like a purple state. Like it's really up in the air right now. And I
Yeah,
think the same can be said for a lot of the Midwest states.
100% agree.
So you've been up in Green Bay since 2017?
Yeah, I moved back in 2018, got the job, got a house. I mean, not a house, an apartment, but
Mm.
moved back up here. And this is where I grew up. So, like, it was always in my mind to come back. Like in 2008, when I left, Green Bay had just passed an English only ordinance, which was just like totally racist. And the state
Yeah.
had just passed a ban on gay marriage constitutionally. So when I left, it was kind of like, but it was always in my heart, like, I want to come back someday and do this work.
Right. Now, I guess like how long were you in Chicago just for
10
reference?
years.
Oh wow, 10 years, huh?
Hmm.
And had you been doing comedy that entire time?
I actually just hit my 7-year anniversary. So like half the time I was in Chicago about as I started doing comedy. I actually started doing comedy in Champaign-Urbana because I was stationed down there to organize a craft factory. And the dudes I was
Wow.
working with, like in their spare time, they love to go to the strip club. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. So I started going to open mics down there. And then I go back to Chicago on the weekends and go to mics there. And it just like, it really blossomed.
Kind of snowball. Yeah. Now, this is supposed to be a lot about comedy, but I am very interested in the union organizing. Do you see a crossover at all between like stand up and organizing in that way?
Oh, definitely. I would say like union organizing and being a comedian is very similar in that we're always on the road. Generally, we're a population that drinks way too much, and like we drop to our knees and thank God anytime someone listens to us for more than 5 minutes, you know?
Right. Right. Do you ever get bumped for bigger organizers or
Yeah, actually.
really?
Yeah, that's definitely a thing, you know, someone with more seniority, more experience, you know, and it's humbling. You learn organizing helped me learn how to really like listen to people and take their advice and not try to be a one-woman show.
Mm. And now, is there a back and forth between like skills that can be like traded off between the two disciplines?
Oh, definitely. I think, you know, being comfortable in an awkward moment is important to both. Like with stand-up comedy, sometimes with crowd work, you know, you'll have the awkward moment. And if you jump too quickly, you know, everyone could be on the heckler's side then.
Hmm.
And it's the same really with a workshop or, you know, sometimes there'll be spaces in an organizing campaign that are high conflict, you know, like people who are there to actively work against you will show up, the police, for example.
Hmm.
So like having that space to like remain calm and center yourself and like continue with your strategic plan, I would say is very much the same theme.
How about like I guess knowing the audience and knowing what to like provide for them, or is anything like I guess kind of like I guess the question I'm getting to is like reading the room. Is that something that carries over into organizing as well?
Yeah. One of my favorite memories of this is I was in City Hall in Chicago and I walked into like the second floor area of City Hall is where we normally do like press conferences and stuff. And I was working on the Wake Up Walmart campaign and the entire area, probably like about I don't know, maybe like 300 people, all Walmart employees, like, fuck yeah, Walmart people. And I was like, oh, like in my union shirt, like shit. So, I mean, there's definitely like those moments where that kind of thing happens.
Walking
Um,
into a gig like, oh, I'm going to bomb. I'm going to bomb. There's
oh,
no way
yeah,
around it.
for sure. And actually, when I was younger in my comedy career, I was really concerned with like trying to curtail my content so I would appeal to more people, you know?
Hmm.
And then I thought about it and I was like, fuck them. You know, I want to use my platform to say what I want to say. If I'm not doing that, what's the point? So yeah, there was like I did a show in Danville, Illinois once, and I was talking about union stuff, and then afterwards, these three huge men came up to me, and like during that part of the set, it went like dead silent, like, ugh. And these three huge dudes came up to me, and they were like, "Psst, hey, what you said, that was really cool. We're steel workers." And I was like, well, you babies, why didn't you like clap?
Because their boss is right next to him going like, don't you fucking say a thing. Damn, I had a question and then it completely left my brain. So you said you got started, where did you say you got started?
It was 2013.
You mentioned a place, but
Champaign-Urbana. I was there Monday through Friday to work a campaign.
Where is that?
That is about 3 hours south of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Tuttle twins run a room down there, and they had like a weekly showcase, a weekly mic. It was a very welcoming space.
Okay, I remember the question I was going to ask. How far were you in your comedy career when you made that decision to not cater your material for the widest audience?
Well, it was something I'd been considering for a long time, going back and forth with, and it wasn't really, I didn't cement it totally until I met JT Habersat, and me and him, like, I love him so much. He's out of Austin, Texas, a very good friend. And he just really made it click in my mind that it was like, comedy is just like the DIY punk scene. So do what you want to do and, share your vision and your message, because that's what's important. So that's when and that was probably like a year and a half, 2 years in, where I found my voice, as they say.
And I know I go back and forth with that all the time, where I'm seeing things that I care about not do well, and I have made an effort to be more, I guess, just kind of straight down the line, just for the sake of like being a better joke writer. But there are definitely points in my comedy career where I've like seen something or had a conversation, and it's like, fuck all this. Like,
yeah,
let's get to it.
And there was like, when I was younger in my career, I would go back and forth between like, oh, was I not good? Was my joke bad? And now I'm at a place where like, oh, the joke was good. They just don't like me. Like, which feels weird to have as like a metric of self-esteem.
Right. I mean, it is a level of self-awareness that I think is welcomed in comedy.
Yeah. Oh man, I am nervous about getting back on stage though. I've got feature work up here in August.
Really?
And, yeah. And just between, the police brutality situation nationwide and how folks up here, white folks, feel about Black Lives Matter. I shouldn't say everyone. We have a lot of great community up here. So between that and the global pandemic that's also happening, like,
right, the newly cemented recession, a nice little trifecta of comedy will be different, I guess.
Yeah, I'm concerned that I don't know, and also I feel like comedy shows happening right now. Like, I haven't been asked to do a ton of things, but I kind of feel like anyone going to a comedy show right now doesn't deserve comedy. I don't know. Like, that might be wildly unpopular, but
I know that in my heart of hearts right now, I'm thinking about because Michigan, actually today is the first day that Michigan opened up. And so now like a few bars around are open. There's one of the main bars that is opened is the like a staple Monday night open mic location. And I have vivid memories of having the worst time there, bombing the shit, getting all this kind of thing. And I think, do I want to risk my health to go and just rattle off a bunch of stuff that I haven't written yet?
I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's dicey. And like,
sorry, go. I just cleared my throat here.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, there's part of me that, yeah, absolutely, I want to tell jokes and feel good and have that sense of community again, but also, no.
Do you remember the last show you did before the lockdown?
Oh yeah, I was featuring for Chris Fairbanks at
Oh, cool.
the Laughing Tap in Milwaukee, which is run by phenomenal people. I love them so much,
I've heard
and
good things about the Laughing Tap.
it's a wonderful place to do comedy.
Awesome.
Yeah, they've
Uh,
been doing donations. Like you can buy tickets now for future shows because they like just started the room before everything went to hell, and they've got big plans to make that space really beautiful.
awesome. Awesome. Was there any, I guess, looming specter of what was to come?
You know, no, not that weekend. Because actually, I decided to take February off because I was going to do a little traveling and just relax, and then shit went
Not,
to hell. So
not the best time for travel and taking deep breaths, I think.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, and like sometimes I just look at my calendar and think about like June, I was supposed to host Eddie Pepitone, do the Turnbuckle Festival.
Oh man.
There's a couple other things too that I was like, yeah, and I'm gonna sit at home with my cat. She's right there.
Yeah. Oh, hey cat. What's your cat's name?
Shatara.
Shitara.
Hmm.
Oh hell yeah. How is she handling the pandemic?
She's real sick of me.
Uh-huh.
Every time I come into the room, she looks at me like, oh, it's you.
You again.
Yeah, so it's us in a one-bedroom apartment, and
Right
but
on.
yeah, I do feel pretty lucky being up in Green Bay. There's a lot of space and a lot of nature to go out in.
Right. So you've been staying sane, and I guess not necessarily. You said you kind of put off the pressure of putting out content or writing stuff.
I did. I'm working on a collection of essays because I thought like that might be fun to have as merch someday if we tour again. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a thing, but not holding myself to any serious deadlines.
That's probably a good thing because I know, during the before times, no matter what was happening, there was always that that thing in the back of your head saying you could be doing something better, you could be writing more, things like that. I've definitely found the time to just not think about stand up for a while,
I
and
know. I feel like a whole person. It's amazing.
I'm I'm doing chores, I'm exercising. Look at me.
Yeah, I have started slipping jokes into union meetings though, so I feel like they might mutiny against me. Like, stop doing new material on us.
Yeah, yeah. There was definitely a point, maybe like a month in where I was definitely feeling the itch again, and I don't want to claim for myself that I was firing on all cylinders, but the stage was missing some hot some hot jokes.
Right? And now the idea of like getting on stage and telling pre-quarantine jokes and like,
It's in even like pre the Black Lives Matter
oh,
movement
definitely. Yeah.
situation, like you can definitely like I think about old sets and I go, oh, this, doing this word for word in the new normal would it would be like, have you not watched the news at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have been trying to limit my interaction with the trolls of the social media world. That's definitely one thing. I wish I could tell my younger comedic self. It's like, don't pay attention and don't give your energy to people who are just there to eat it up.
I'm really glad you brought that up because that is one of the staple questions here on the program. Is there anything that you would like when you started? Is there anything that you wished you had known?
I guess it's kind of silly, but I wish I would have told myself, like, who gives a shit about hecklers? Look at what you deal with in your day job. Like in my day job, I've been forcibly removed from work sites and had people scream in my face and like, hecklers aren't shit.
Yeah, yeah. It would be easier to deal with them at the day job, I would assume, if they were also hammered.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely that. And then also say no. You could say no to shit all the time.
Hmm.
Like, I never want to perform at Zany's Rosemont again. Like,
Yeah. Okay. No,
like,
I guess, similar question along the same lines. It's almost word for word, but like if somebody was starting now, is there any advice that you would give them? Like, if it's the same, it's the same, but
Yeah.
I know that's having somebody else, like not looking back at yourself, but rather to somebody who is just looking for advice.
Yeah, I would say, the comedy scene is fun, but like, don't get sucked into it. Do your writing, go to mics. Um, you know, I forget, I think it was Mike Leibowitz who put out a really good article many years ago, and it was all about how some people are in comedy because they actually want to do comedy, and some people are here because they want friends. And that's fine,
Hmm.
but just figure out which one you are and what you want to do. And don't get, and I also feel like things will come to you when you're ready. So like, don't get hell bent about like constantly asking for things. I guess the thing I would give someone starting out is like to really embrace the idea of self-reflection and like don't automatically assume you deserve shit. So I meet a lot of young comics and they're like a year in and they're like, yeah, I got 45. And I'm like, do you?
45 what? Exactly.
$45.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, like I think the self-reflection part is key because that now granted there is a lot of delusion
Yeah.
within this, but I know understanding that going through that delusion for a longer payoff,
Well, yeah.
I think
And
is key.
honestly, like I had to face that delusion myself in moving back to Green Bay because it was like, oh, do I really want to leave Chicago and give it up? And, I'm not going to make it if I'm in Green Bay. I was kind of like, bitch, you're not going to make it anyway. Like, you're 40. And, it was just really deciding what I wanted out of comedy. And it's,
Mhm.
I want to advance my platform. I want to bring people together to create a sense of community. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now since you're back up in Green Bay, you said you have been trying to bring comics through there. How's that been going?
Pretty decently. I was working with the Lyric Room on Broadway, which is downtown Green Bay. David Zoe Leon is one of my favorite comics. I brought him up.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sonal Agarwal, I brought her up. Trying to think who else. Chastity Washington, Jake Knoll. Yeah, basically it's just an excuse to like book the people that I miss.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I think, the more rooms there are like that, especially around the Midwest, and the more of a dialogue there is between, I guess it wouldn't be a dialogue, it'd be a multi-log.
Yeah.
Like it'd be a Zoom call. The better chances there are for like runs to be put together like throughout states and throughout like independently ran rooms. So that's rad.
Yeah, and I do feel like comedy really brings out progressive people. So like giving for those progressive folks in like Missouri and Iowa a night out where like they can be surrounded by like-minded people and have fun is really cool.
Yeah.
And like growing up in Green Bay, the punk scene is what really like politicized me. And like having that space as a young person to like discover authors and music, it was really meaningful. So like to have that through comedy for people is really cool.
Hell yeah. That was, I think, a thing that really solidified, like when I first started like dabbling in comedy, realizing how close it was to, you know, being a young punk in high school and like putting on shows in basements and
Oh,
bars and
hell
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's like, oh, it's all the same shit, just with less gear. That rocks.
Yeah, it's way easier to tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you tried at all any like Zoom call stand-up comedy during quarantine?
So I did. My friend put together a talent show for her birthday. It was just like a bunch of and community organizers throughout the country. It was like 50 of us on a call. So I did stand up for them, and it was fun. But like the time delay is awkward to work with in a medium.
Hmm.
And it was fun, but I think it was just because it was for my friends. So
Right. And that's an interesting situation to be in. Usually when you're doing stand-up in front of like coworkers, it's like, oh geez,
oh yeah,
how's this
these
gonna
fucking
go?
guys.
Yeah. But it seems like, that wasn't the problem in your case, which rocks and
Yeah,
rolls.
yeah, it's very fun.
But that was you didn't try to get on any like of the Zoom open mics or anything like that.
So, okay, the first week of quarantine, when it started, I was like, I'm doing a weekly Zoom show. I'm promoting important voices. We are doing this. And I had Tyler Snodgrass, who's now in New York, do a logo. And then like 2 days before the show, I was like, I hate everything. I don't want to do this. So I contacted all the comics that I had booked, is like Ashley Ray and Zach Peterson and Whitney Wasson and a few other folks. And I was like,
a couple of familiar folks who came through the Indies, so that rocks.
yeah. I was like, I don't want to do this. I feel really like devastated and burnt out. And most of them were like, yeah, we only agreed because you asked. We don't want to either. Like, but actually, Whitney Wasson, she carried on and she does a weekly Zoom show. So props to her.
Awesome. Yeah. She was, I want to say she was within the last couple months of us being open.
Yeah, she did a co-headlining show. I forget the name of the person she was with, but she's so funny. She's been such a huge inspiration to me in getting sober too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that a recent development?
I'm a little over almost 2.5 years in.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. I do feel like being in Wisconsin, that should count as double. It's pretty drunk up here.
Yeah. Sounds rad. I have a couple more questions. First of all,
sure.
Completely just out of my own curiosity, what's the deal with the Green Bay Packers and how they're owned?
So we are community owned, but it's not as community as it's not LA. It's not quite as community as like it's portrayed. It's mostly like a bunch of families own it, but it's still better than some evil CEO, you know.
Right.
It's funny because I've never watched an entire football game in my life, and that makes my family fucking crazy. But like the Packers are always on the right side of everything. They're so wonderful. They do a lot of community engagement, and they came out against Scott Walker when he was destroying the teachers union. And recently they put out their own video about, police brutality and saying enough is enough, and say Black Lives Matter. So it's really cool. Yeah. And there's all these dumb rednecks that are trying to boycott the NFL. And I was like, what are you going to do? Read a book? Come on.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because that was brought to my attention like not too long ago. And it's always interesting to see something that is usually bad be not as bad.
Yeah.
Proof that it can happen.
It is very cool.
Are you, I guess the next question I had, not anything related to football. That's
literally good, because this is the extent of my knowledge.
Same, absolutely the same. 7 points for a touchdown or something. I don't know. I guess moving forward, like Michigan, as I said, just opened up today with restrictions and stuff. Are you said you got some stuff planned in the future. What is you dipping your toes back in the stand-up look like?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Like when I saw Saturday Night Live at Home, when they had their first closing credits with the empty stage. I don't know if you saw that. I started weeping. I was like, just seeing that stage that is normally full of performers congratulating each other and having a good time, celebrating their work. Empty was really heartbreaking. And the thought of going back out there and doing comedy, I don't know, it gives me pause. I don't know what it'll look like. I will, if I'm going to do this feature spot, I got to do something. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that'll look like, honestly. I know the open mic up here at the club has started up again.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm kind of having a panic attack about that.
I feel a similar kind of panic because at once, the mandate that allowed stores and bars to open up, it came pretty quickly, kind of in light of a lot of the protests and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here going whoa. Not so fast. I don't think it's, I don't know. I'm very curious to see, because I know that, Michigan was kind of locked down more than most, especially in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing places open up and things kind of resuming as if like nothing happened.
Yeah, it's a real Catholic mom approach to everything.
We don't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's terrifying, especially here in Wisconsin, because we had a really good solid plan in place with prerequisites that had to be met before different phases would progress. And then everybody threw a hissy fit about, I want to go to the bar. And of course, we've got some batshit crazy Republican legislators here that really stoked that fire. So I'm sure you also heard about our Supreme Court in Wisconsin saying that it was likened to the Japanese internment camps. Yeah, they're fucking crazy. So yeah, we went.
We've got a lot of our governor Gretchen Whitmer has gotten a lot of Whitler, Witchler, different
Oh yeah.
variations of Hitler because
You know what's so funny? She actually spoke on a nationwide union call I was on, and she was so calm and polite. And she was just like, we just have to stick together. I was like, if people were on my lawn with a fucking assault rifle, I'd be like, fuck these people.
Yeah. It's very truly interesting. Truly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We hope to see you back at the club at some point. Do you remember the weekend that you came?
Oh yes, it was amazing. I love Detroit and the surrounding area. Hamtramck is one
Hell
of my
yeah.
favorite places ever. I actually, between there and Des Moines, I fantasize about moving to these places. So
Really?
yeah.
What is it about Des Moines?
Oh God.
I've heard tight shit.
Yeah. The comics there, first off, are amazing and hilarious. They've got a great music scene. The venues are so cool. They have like this really cool community sculpture garden downtown. And like when I was there, I saw tons of union billboards. So I was like, fuck yeah, Des Moines. They got Dante Powell, who's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like everything good about the Midwest is there. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That rocks. That makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Were you didn't co-headline, did you? I can't remember. I
No.
know you.
Kenny Whitskill hosted, and then there was a few different folks each night doing like 15-minute sets.
Right. Okay. And when was that? Was that? Do you remember when that was?
Mid-January. I think it was the weekend of like January 15th, I want to say.
Okay, so we were definitely cooking at that point.
Oh yeah, it was a really fun room, and honestly, it's the first place I've ever done 45, and it's my first headlining weekend. So
that's
like the Independent is a huge spot in my heart forever.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. We're hoping to. I'm not sure what the status is yet. I think we're allowed to open, but it's still in talks with like the Planet Ant, like the greater body that the Independent is underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you decide that touring is right for you again, we'd love to have you back.
Awesome. Yeah, I love Detroit. Hamtramck too is amazing community. I would be back in a heartbeat.
Hell yeah. Is there anything that you want to plug or point people to?
I do actually. Okay, yeah. So this book is called Emergent Strategy. It's by Adrienne Marie Brown. She is actually from Detroit, and it's just an amazing book about how to do sustainable movement work that respects everybody involved. And follow her on Instagram too. She's amazing. Yeah, so that's my plug.
Hell yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter too or some shit. I don't know.
Hell yeah. Can you say the name of that book one more time?
It's called Emergent Strategy.
Emergent Strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And it's off AK Press by Adrienne Marie Brown. She is just a phenomenal organizer, amazing Black woman.
Hell yeah! If you're interested, go out for those watching. Go out and pick it up at your locally Black-owned bookstore.
Yeah, hell yeah.
If you can go to our page. We have a list of a lot of businesses around town that'd be good to buy it from. But hey, Kristin, thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Yeah, this was really fun. It's nice to see you. I feel like it's been forever.
It has. It's been since I guess January.
Yeah.
But hell yeah. Stay safe. Keep on rocking in the free world. Stole that from Nardwar. Sorry. I gotta cite my sources there. Well, hell yeah, it was great to see you too. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
you
on.
too. Thanks a lot, Brett.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.